The identity is they don't have an identity, and they're still trying to figure it out.
We got to see what we have in other players.
This team has been playing the matchup a bit too much and less about finding an identity that is truly theirs.
Hey, welcome to Upon Further Review, presented by Coors Light. I'm Paul Gutierrez, and pretty newsworthy week for the Raiders after coming off a very kind of downtrodden loss to the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders gets his first win as a starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, but from the Raider perspective, they dropped their fifth straight game, and somebody somewhere had to pay the cost. The Raiders relieve offensive coordinator Chip Kelly of his duties. They replace him in terms of being an offensive play caller with Greg Olsen, the former quarterback coach. He's going to maintain those duties as well. Coming up this week, the Raiders now travel. They got a division game. Start the second round of division games against the AFC West. Go to the LA Chargers game at SoFi Stadium. So a lot of things to dive into in this episode, a lot of people to talk to. Let's start with number one with James Jones, a former player in the league, former Raider receiver, and a great analyst when we're breaking all these things down. James, just right off the bat, knee-jerk reaction to the changes that have happened on the offensive side of the ball with the Raiders.
Man, I absolutely love it. I think it's something that had to be done. You're talking about an offense that's, dead last in almost every category. You talk about a quarterback that wasn't playing with a lot of confidence under Chip Kelly. I think it came at the right time. I think it needed to happen because this is still an offense, this deep into the season without an identity. I love them putting in Greg Olsen, man. Greg Olsen is, a really good friend of mine, but not only that, he's a heck of a football coach. And you know who you talk to most as a quarterback when you don't necessarily like the play calls, or you think you should run this a little bit more, or, I'm comfortable with this. You talk to your quarterback coach. Yeah. And now you bring Coach O in there, who is Geno's quarterback coach, to call the plays. I think they will both know exactly what both are comfortable with.
It's interesting when you're talking about Greg, and he was on the podcast earlier this season, and I said there's three things that are certain in life: death, taxes, and Greg Olsen being on the staff. This is his third separate time being on the staff. It's going to be the third time that he's been an offensive play caller for the team. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, James, but wasn't he the OC when you were with the Raiders?
He was the OC when I was with the Raiders, man. And that was the relationship, man, that we built in, man. You talk about a guy that communicates with his players, that understands his players, that has a good relationship with his players, and that wants to put his players in the best situation to go out there and succeed. And I think when you have that communication, man, you are going to be able to put up some good numbers. You're going to be able to, have some success. So I'm looking forward to him going out there with Brock Bowers, with Ashton Denty, with Geno Smith, and being able to put together a good game plan.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you next was what can Raider fans expect this offense to look like? And again, you can't really make wholesale changes. I talked to Ashton Denty a little bit ago about it. He said, look, it's going to be similar to what we're doing, but he's looking forward to getting the running game going, looking forward to getting the play action pass game going. From your perspective, and you've talked about this all season long, you want to see the young guys get some reps now. Given where the team is in the season, given what the record is, how important is it now to see Jack Besh, to see Dante Thornton, to see even Ashton Denty get become even more a part of this offense going forward?
Yeah, I think that's huge, and I think that's what you will see, man. I think you'll see some of these young players more involved because we are in the middle of the season of where, hey, man, we got to figure out what we have going into the free agency, going into the draft. We have to figure out what these young players can be or, what kind of potential they have. So I think you'll see some more opportunities from both these young guys, Besh and Thornton, to go out there and make some plays. But to be honest with you, man, Coach O, I know he's going to start with that run game. I know he's going to get to some play action pass as well, but he's going to make sure Geno Smith is comfortable. He's going to breathe some confidence in him, whether that's moving him outside the pocket. But start with number two. We've been starting with the pass game all year long, and I know we got Brock Bowers, and I know Geno Smith is there, but start with this run game. Let's see what we can do. But them young players definitely need to be on the football field early and often, get some opportunities because we need to figure out what kind of players we drafted.
Yeah, I would think as well with Jack being a second rounder that you would want to see a lot more out of those receivers, being the receiver yourself. I mean, how important is it for a young receiver to be not necessarily kind of thrown into the fire, but to get those regular reps, not just get six snaps here, 7 snaps there?
Yeah, it's huge because you want these young players to come into next year and you want them to have that experience and you want the game to slow down for them. I remember my rookie year compared to my second year. Oh my gosh, it was
Hmm.
night and day. My head is still spinning thinking about the things that I was thinking about, from my rookie year. This route turns to that route versus that coverage. You got to worry about, all these signals coming from the quarterback. Then you got to look at the defense and you got to see what the defense is in. Your head is spinning so many different ways. So when you're out there as a rookie and you're able to get all that right now, man, I came into year two and I'm like, oh my gosh, the game is really not that fast. It's
Yeah.
slowed down. So I would love for our young fellas to kind of get that experience right now. So now when we come in the next year, we kind of hitting the ground running and the game slowing down for them.
You said something earlier too, James, about what Coach Olson needs to really make happen is to get Geno comfortable. I don't think there's any better way to get him more comfortable than solidifying that offensive line, which has been an issue all season long. When you look at the offensive line, we saw things that we haven't seen ever, really, when you had Alex Kappa at center. After the game, he talked about he hadn't played center since his rookie year in training camp in the preseason. Caleb Rogers, we haven't seen him yet. What does that offensive line need to do to protect Geno? Not only protect him, but like you said, make him comfortable.
To be honest with you, I think it's what we need to do offensively. I mean, kudos to our offensive line, but we don't have Trent Williams. We don't have Lane Johnson. We don't have, big time names at the offensive line spot. And a lot of teams around the National Football League don't have that. But when you're putting together a game plan and you're saying, okay, our offensive line is struggling a little bit, number one, let's start with running the ball because I do know that they can come off the ball and block the people in front of them. Number two, let's start with moving Geno Smith out of the pocket, moving him off his spot to help this offensive line, to get him some easy throws getting outside the pocket. And then when you're able to play action pass, at the end of the day, sometimes you got to buckle up and you got to do your job. But I think it works both ways. They need to do their job better, but we can definitely help them out by the way we are calling the game. You have Myles Garrett and you drop back 55 times to pass the ball. There's no offensive line in the National Football League that has blocked Myles Garrett all year long. You got 18 sacks.
Yeah.
So it's not just our offensive line, but I think there's ways you can help them, and I think Coach O would do that.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, as I said the day after, it's not entirely on the quarterback. Quarterbacks get too much credit when things go good, too much of the blame when they go bad. He sacked 10 times, and he had guys in his lap literally every time he dropped back. The 10 sacks, James, that's one off of the franchise record set back in 1986, only two off the NFL record for a single game for a quarterback getting sacked. On the flip side, the Chargers are having issues with their offensive line as well. They're missing both of their tackles. So again, another opportunity for Max Crosby and company to kind of get themselves going. What needs to happen there for the defense to go? And I know what you've said before, give Max Crosby a lead. Is this something that we could potentially see at SoFi?
I hope so, man, because when you're talking about a banged-up offensive line in the Chargers, if we can go up by 2 scores and we can jump out on the Chargers fast and we can let Max Crosby pin his ears back and go get Justin Herbert, that's the formula. If they stay ahead of the sticks or if they stay ahead of the game in points, Harbaugh's going to run that ball. Harbaugh's going to get the ball out of Justin Herbert's hands fast. So our game plan needs to be, we need to be aggressive and score this football early and often, even if we got to go for it on 4th down. And we have to get after Justin Herbert with that banged up offensive line and find a way to make them one-dimensional. That's how we're going to have a chance in this game to win this ball game.
Interestingly enough, Geno's been sacked 41 times. That's the second most in the NFL. Herbert, he's the 4th most sacked quarterback in the NFL, 35. So potentially a chance for the Raider defense to get going. And pass rush and pass coverage working hand in hand. Chargers have some weapons outside. Again, always love to talk to you about the receivers. McConkey, Johnston, Keenan Allen, Gadsden. I mean, when you see the pass catchers that the Chargers have, I mean, we're not talking Joyner, Winslow, and Jefferson from back in the day, but they're pretty nice.
They are very, very nice, and they're extremely good route runners, and they got an extremely accurate quarterback in Justin Herbert that can get the ball out of his hands fast. So that's why it's even more important that Max Crosby gets after the quarterback and we get some leads so they can be able to affect Justin Herbert in that pocket. Because if he's able to stand in there clean, Keenan Allen, one of the best route runners we've seen in this game ever. Lad McConkey is coming on, and you obviously got a big body out there in Johnson who can make plays. But not only that, you got Herbert who can spin it with the best of them. So we got to get pressure. These wideouts are going to be a handful. We're not going to be able to just sit back and cover them and play man-to-man and stay with them. We got to get pressure on the quarterback.
James, thank you so much. I mean, again, it's a division game. It's a rivalry game. Throw out everything else out the window, and especially with the Raiders, it's going to be a new look on offense, maybe just a little different, so to speak. But looking forward to seeing your post-game coverage and your analysis at the same time.
Not a problem. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for having me. Happy Thanksgiving to all you guys.
Same to you and yours. All right, stay with us because coming up next, we got a guy who seems to show up and show out against the Cleveland Browns, whether it's getting a game-sealing sack or getting his first ever interception. Defensive end Charles Snowden is going to join the show.
Meet Max Out. He's a credit wrecker. His eyes are bigger than his wallet. And his credit score pays the price. You see, Max doesn't know he should only use 30% or less of his credit limit, because using his full line can lower his score. Don't be like Max Out. Instead, learn how to avoid the wreckers at creditwreckers.com. Credit One Bank for what's ahead.
Shotgun fires over the middle. Picked off at the 42. Charles Snowden running back to the left. And he's checked down at the 26. Shedeur looked left, and he threw it right into the arms of the defensive end linebacker. Snowden with the pick.
Hey, welcome back to Upon Further Review. I am Paul, and I'm joined by the guy that just authored that interception, Charles Snowden. Charles, seems like every time you play the Browns, something kind of nice happens. You got the interception there last week. Last year, you had the game-sealing sack. So what is it about you playing against the Browns?
Well, LeBron James is my favorite player, and so I'm honestly just trying to get his attention.
There you go. He's going for you, LeBron. A quick note here, Charles. Interceptions by you and Max Crosby this year. It's the first time since 2001 that two Raider defensive linemen have had an interception in the same season. You guys joined Chris Cooper and Darrell Russell. What do those names mean to you, if anything? I mean, I know you're a historian, a football historian, so to speak, too. When you get your name thrown out there with guys like that in this teams in this history, what does that kind of say to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's super cool to me, honestly. I mean, the Raiders have such a rich history in football, and when you hear your own name in conversations like that, I mean, it's a really surreal feeling, and really just kind of motivates you to kind of just do more and reach the heights that they reached.
So there's a lot of news going on with the team this week, moving on from offensive coordinator Chip Kelly. It doesn't really affect what you're doing on that side of the ball. But how would you describe what the mood of the team is now going forward into this last segment of the season?
I mean, I think that the mood is just, we're still just hungry. Everyone in the building is professionals. We understand that wins are hard to come by in the NFL. And so, even when things aren't going your way, you have to keep, trusting the process. And we all just want to put the best product out there, fight for each other, fight for ourselves, fight for Raider Nation, and just keep getting better every week. So, guys, obviously you're disappointed by the losses, but we're absolutely still just determined and trying to go out there and just win every week.
When it comes to the defensive side of the ball, obviously it's a team sport, right? And you need to play the complementary football all the way through. We've heard this from training camp through today. How much pride are you guys taking on the defensive side of the ball in the consistency that you guys are starting to show more and more each and every week?
Yeah, I mean, we take a lot of pride in that. We take a lot of pride in the fact that, regardless of the situation, whether it be a kickoff, turnover, anything, wherever we get the ball, we're just the same team, the same unit. We go out there and defend every blade of grass.
So for you, you've had an interesting journey in the NFL, coming from Silver Spring, Maryland, going to high school in the Washington, D.C. area. You were actually recruited initially for basketball. And when you came walking across the field to me, I was like, yeah, he is 6'7". So that's kind of tall for a football player anyway. But what was that choice like for you? What I've read about you was you were kind of a mid-major recruit for basketball, but then football came along and something just clicked for you in high school. How did that happen?
I actually owe a lot of it to my college position coach, Kelly Papinga, he said to me, Charles, there are thousands of basketball players out there that are built just like you. There aren't many football players. And he had a history of kind of, converting guys that hadn't really played much football into being great football players. Like he coached Ziggy Ansah at BYU, and he went on to lead the NFL in sacks later in his career. So he had a history of that, and I really trusted him. And, yeah, he really helped me kind of make that transition. And being a basketball player out there, playing football, there were obviously some growing pains.
Yeah.
But a lot of the skill sets and athleticism as well kind of helped translate to helping help me be the player I am today.
Well, that was going to be the next question, is what skill sets in particular? I mean, rebounding, I guess, could help you jumping up and blocking, tipping passes. What from basketball, from the basketball court kind of translates onto the football field for you?
I think a lot of it is just movement in space, honestly. Like just being a fluid athlete, being able to change direction, being able to run, being able to jump, and then just, hand-eye coordination, being comfortable around the ball, stuff like that.
Looking back at your high school career at St. Albans in Washington, D.C., I read that going into your senior year, you're required to do 60 hours of community service. What did you end up doing?
My 60 hours of community service, I actually organized a coat drive in D.C., and so I kind of just took that initiative. My parents have done a great job my whole life of always giving back and stuff, so they helped me, and so I just kind of organized that and helped gather coats and redistribute them to the less fortunate in the D.C. area.
So when you move on to Virginia, you study political science. I believe you were a history major?
I majored in politics, and I minored in African American studies.
Okay, so how did your upbringing from there in the D.C. area to Virginia, how did that all kind of correlate with each other, and then kind of correlate onto what you do on the football field?
Yeah, I mean, D.C. obviously is the capital of our nation, so a very political area. So I've always just kind of been aware. Every Sunday morning, I'd walk downstairs. My dad is watching Meet the Press. My parents were watching CNN at night. So when I was younger, obviously I didn't fully understand everything that was going on. But it kind of just, sparked my initial political interest. And then going to the University of Virginia, the school's founded by Thomas Jefferson. So another just political area, and really just piqued my interest. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I studied all throughout and still keep up with to this day.
So is the family more proud of the sack last year and the interception this year, or the fact that you were on CNN getting interviewed during the presidential race last year?
I think they're probably more proud of the off-the-field stuff, but they enjoy celebrating the on-the-field success as well.
How about for you, getting on CNN and talking, having the platform to do it? I mean, how important is that to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super cool. I think that football allowed me to have that platform to, share what I think, but also just to get me in places where I can just learn from people and just understand a lot and cast a wider net of different people and people's upbringing, people's thoughts and beliefs. And so it's just been super cool.
When you come into the NFL, or actually when you're still in college and you're meeting a lot of different people, then you come into the NFL and it's people from all over the country, if not the world. You get certain guys coming in here. How does that affect the locker room dynamic?
I would say that, so the University of Virginia, we were all pretty like-minded. That's cool.
Yeah.
But coming to the NFL was, it's like you said, people from all over, different thoughts, different backgrounds, different opinions. And I have gotten in my fair share of arguments in the locker room. But if anything, like the people that I've gone back and forth with are like some of the guys I am closest with. Like the fact that we feel comfortable enough to disagree and argue and go back and forth. And then when they go out there and make a play, like I just get excited and happy for them. And so it's, if anything, I think it's just brought me closer with my teammates.
And I'm sure it goes vice versa as well, right?
Absolutely.
When you make the play, you hear from them as well. And that's why they say football is the ultimate team sport anyway.
Absolutely.
For you, though, coming into the NFL, your first 3 years, you had a grand total of 6 snaps. Last year, somebody saw something they liked in you, and I know your opportunity came, and that whole mentality of next man up when Malcolm Coots went down right before the season opener. You stepped in, you took advantage of your opportunity. Who in this organization really could you credit with just kind of giving you that opportunity to step forward and make your mark?
Yeah, I have to give, a lot of that credit to Robbie Leonard, the defensive line coach. He's done so much for me. When I came here December of 2023, I was on the practice squad, 60 guys in the building. I'm number 60. Like, I'm at the bottom. And from early on, like, he took an investment in me that first OTA I was here. Like, he was invested in me and my development in the same level he was invested in Max Crosby and his development. Like, I've had great coaches across the league. Like, I've never seen a coach care about all of his players top to bottom. And he saw something in me and saw the efforts I was putting in, saw the potential, and he just kept working with me, kept believing in me. And so when it was time for me to get out there on the field, I felt prepared, I felt ready, I felt my coaches believed in me, and it really helped me achieve success.
To the point now where you're not just rushing the passer, you're dropping back in coverage, obviously.
Yeah.
So how different is that instead of just, pinning your ears back and going to reading an offense and dropping back into coverage?
Yeah, I mean, it's, two very different skill sets, obviously. One thing that helps a lot is knowing that, we have the rushers that we have in Malcolm Kuntz, Max, AB, Jonah. Like, I know those guys are getting home, so I know the quarterback's reads are pretty quick. It's like on the interception. I mean, I know the ball is coming out hot. He's getting hit as he's throwing it by Adam Butler. So I know, that first or second read, it's going there. So I'm just able to take chances and pay it off.
How big are your eyes getting when that ball's coming at you?
Huge. The last memory I have is the ball is in the air. I blinked and I'm getting tackled. I could not tell you anything that happened after that.
What's more? I don't know if satisfying is the right word, but how would you describe the sense of getting a sack versus that interception?
I mean, sacks are obviously, as a defensive end, as an edge rusher, sacks is what you work for all year long and everything. But to get interception, it's just like such a game-changing play. It changes the whole dynamic. Like, it's more rare, obviously. So it's just a cooler feeling. But yeah, when you beat your man, when you get a sack, you beat your man, go get the quarterback. Like, that's a hard feeling to top as well.
And then lastly, from the team perspective, what do you guys need to do now? You're kind of hitting a little restart button on the offensive side of the ball with Greg Olsen taking over as the play caller. But from defense, you guys want to keep doing what you're doing. From a team perspective, what do you guys need to do to just, finish strong?
I think we just have to, one foot in front of the other, keep going to work, keep chopping wood, keep carrying water, and just, be the best team that we can be. Obviously, we can't control the results, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to make plays, but just control what we can control and just keep going to work week in, week out, going out to practice today, putting our best foot forward, and let the chips fall where they may.
Charles, so you've had a sack, you've got an interception. I guess we're now just waiting on a fumble recovery or a forced fumble, so that's next.
Yeah, exactly. That one's coming up next.
We'll see when the Browns come to town again and make sure that happens at that point. Charles, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me.
All right, don't go anywhere. We've got Cynthia Frelund coming up next with her numbers to know.
For the first time ever, step inside Allegiant Stadium on the eve of game day. When the building comes alive, this exclusive 75-minute guided tour gives you a rare access to the final pre-game prep, sound checks, lighting tests, rehearsals, and more. Go beyond the standard experience with behind-the-scenes access to suites, clubs, and areas off limits on regular tour. Hear untold stories of the stadium, feel the energy of kickoff coming alive, and you might even spot Raider Rusher. This is your all-access pass to game day, before the gates even open.
The identity is they don't have an identity, and they're still trying to figure it out.
We got to see what we have in other players.
This team has been playing the matchup a bit too much and less about finding an identity that is truly theirs.
Hey, welcome back. And as every week, joined by Cynthia Frelund. Looking forward to this segment, especially since we've got some news on the Raider front offensively. Greg Olsen taking over as offensive play caller with Chip Kelly being relieved of his duties. Knee-jerk reaction, Cynthia. What are you thinking? What's the Raider offense going to look like here?
Well, I mean, on some level, you're still playing with the same players, and perhaps a few different principles will be in play for when to do what and whatever. But Ashton Genty's played really well, so I don't think the run game is going to be that much different. Perhaps a few different concepts. You're still playing with the same team. So but there is a bump that does sometimes happen when coaches get changed out.
It's interesting. This is going to be the third time for Greg being the play caller, offensive coordinator role, whatever that is for him. And you've seen it. You saw back in 2021 initially that the team took off and they went to the playoffs that year. Is there anything, like you said, I mean, it's the same personnel. It's happening in the middle of the season. besides just that emotional bump, can they do anything differently, or is it really just kind of you have the personnel that you have?
Well, they can certainly try to do some things differently. My biggest problem just in life is very hard to succeed without having a really strong O-line.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do any of the things behind that O-line if the O-line is an issue. So I think faster passes, of course, quicker schemes, perhaps moving things around, more screen passes, things to help prevent pressure. The Chargers are not an easy defense to have as your first defensive matchup, but there are good pieces on this team, and getting the ball in the hands of your best players more often is always the prescription.
Well, we can flip it around, too, from the Raiders' defensive perspective. They're going up against a guy that they know fairly well in Justin Herbert. He remains a constant threat at the quarterback position, and he's been sacked a lot, too, just like the Raiders quarterback, Geno Smith. But, he's ninth in total passing yards, fourth in completions. He has the fourth best quarterback grade in the league per Pro Football Focus. What is it about Justin Herbert that just makes him – he just kind of seems inevitable when it comes to the Raiders?
Well, he kind of has that like Matthew Stafford-like ability on the play after being pressured to forget what happened the play before it and just kind of take this as a new opportunity. Now, there's something he does that's not like Matthew Stafford, which is run the football very expertly, but it is a more kind of after a pressure. And if you need, third and long in that situation, he will still go out there and not be fearful in the pocket. He'll still take his full drop back. He will still rely. And he's missing some tackles. So meaning his tackles are not there. So,
right.
Those are some attributes where you either are just fearless like that or not. And, he is very good on plays after being pressured one time.
Flipping it to the Raiders side of things, Geno Smith not having the season that he wanted or anyone wanted to see, really, and he'll be the first to admit it. But it seems to me that from his perspective, from that opening game at New England, a lot of Raiders fans and the Raiders themselves have wanted to see that same guy. It seems like the season kind of took a turn for him against the Chargers when he threw that first interception. How can he limit his turnovers against what can be a very stingy Charger defense?
Well, the Chargers are stingy, but they're not completely vulnerable, like less. They have areas of vulnerability,
yeah.
Right? So I'm looking at the Chargers defense and just, kind of look at the corners and get the mismatch between anyone named Brock Bowers or Michael Mayer or whatever, and the, non-Derwin James level of the defense. That is a good opportunity to succeed. Perhaps targeting a layer that is along the seams. Higher probability passes will be what I think are in order. Don't try to do second, third, fourth level stuff, throwing things into very trafficked areas. Just keep it really simple, and simplifying the game plan is always going to be something that brings everyone back to basics, meaning, let's just kind of have our guys versus your guys, get more of those one-on-one matchups where you have a favorable outcome for a Brock Bowers or a bigger one of your bigger talents who can go down and certainly make contested catches. Writing
a note down right now to take down to Greg Olson. Higher probability passes and keep it simple, stupid. KISS. Not calling anybody stupid, but that's the acronym. No. The Chargers secondary, like you just mentioned. I mean, they have the eighth best coverage grade in the NFL. They've allowed the second fewest pass completions per game, the fourth fewest passing yards per game. Again, when it comes to what this Raider offense needs to do, is it more a factor of, okay, well, if the offensive line is going to give Geno time to do things, you have to adjust that way, or do the Raiders simply have enough weapons that they can combat that?
Well, I think we talked about it last week, actually, and I think it's about kind of having an identity and staying true to it. So figuring out what your principles are, even if they don't look sexy on the outside, right? Like we all want Ashton Genty to like rush for 60 yards on every single pass or on every single run. But ultimately, sometimes getting 4 yards on first down is a really nice opportunity to stay ahead of the chains. You don't want to be in that situation where you're third and long or you're second and a million, something like that, right? You want to keep it nice and smooth. Do things that get you the right types of yards. Don't rely on huge plays. Rely on consistency. Be very, very on first down stable, so that you're not putting yourself in terrible third down situations where the O-line being leaky comes back to be even more haunting for you.
Yeah, something tells me we may see a different variation of that offensive line. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it, but I'm just saying.
That part.
That part about it. Now, my favorite part of this segment always is the numbers to know. What is your number to know when it comes to this game with the Raiders playing the Chargers at SoFi Stadium?
So we're going to go with 50%. Why?
50.
Because 50%, half. So Justin Herbert has had 3 games where he has been pressured on half or more of his dropbacks. Most recently, ahead of their bye against the Jags, it was 52.2%. So over half of his dropbacks, he was very, very, under duress, like not his normal situation. Look at what happened there, a loss. So if that pressure rate can get and stay high, it is very effective. Now, I talked about how Justin Herbert's good on the play after being pressured. You sack him, that's different than just pressuring him. So getting fully after him, and this is a very vulnerable area. Their O-line is extremely banged up as well. So the trenches are going to be important on both sides of this matchup. But like I said, it was 52.2% in that loss against the Jags and 50%. They just need to get over 50%, and that really helps things out.
So 50%, not the old 6-7 like the kids are saying. 50% is the number.
You know what I don't understand about 6-7? If it's supposed to mean average, what kind of kids think 6 or 7 is an average number, right? I mean, then the half is 5. What are we doing? What kind of math are we learning these days? Maybe I'm just old. Get off my lawn.
I'm with you on that 100%, more than 50, 100%, because my wife and I, we went to a Halloween party as I wore 7 and she wore 6. We were 6-7, and we thought we were winning the contest, and then the judges, guess what scores they gave us? 6 and 7s. They thought they were funny.
The comedy is lost on me, I guess. I don't know if I'm over it. I don't know. I don't get it. 5 is average, kids.
Same.
6 is better. 7 is even better. But no, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and here's that's the tease then, right? To go in and to check out all of Cynthia Frelund's numbers to know, they're available on the Raiders official YouTube page and also on Raiders.com. Cynthia, thank you so much for joining me again this week.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, that'll do it for this week's edition of Upon Further Review. Thanks to our guests, James Jones, Charles Snowden, and Cynthia Frelund, for previewing this Sunday's game against the Los Angeles Chargers at SoFi Stadium. To stay up to date on all things silver and black, check out our shows and watch them all on our YouTube channel, and visit Raiders.com for more content.